Hey guys, welcome to Evolution Now, number 18. I'm your host, Damien Chinappi, alongside JJ Wolf. Today, our guest is an athlete. He's a coach and an artist. He's the co-founder of RaiseX, along with a golf fitness app designed to help you look better, feel better, and play better when you're on the course. The man is fluent in style and yoga, and it's our pleasure to welcome to the Evolution Now project, Ryan Jacobs.
What's up, Ryan?
Thank you so much, Damien. Appreciate it. Thanks, JJ. Glad to be here. Excited for this conversation.
Us too. So we'll open it up with a quote and we'll just kind of get your thoughts and anything you want to add on to it. So your competition, it's not other people. Your competition is your procrastination. It's your ego, the unhealthy food that you're consuming and the knowledge you neglect, the negative behavior that you're nurturing and your lack of creativity. Compete against that. Ryan, obviously you got a lot going on in your life and in your world, and we'd love to get your thoughts on that opening quote.
I love that quote. Did I post that quote or did you find that quote?
I found it.
Okay. You found the quote. Of course, it's natural to compare yourself to others. Really, all you can do is do your best every day, like Don Miguel Ruiz says in the Four Agreements. It's a book that I happen to love and recommend. It's very easy to get caught in the traps of, comparing yourself or that kind of thing. So really, I think this life is really about you doing what you love to do, the best that you can do it, because nobody really knows exactly what it's like to be you other than you. So we sometimes do want to take advice and take recommendations from our friends, and of course take feedback from the people that we trust is very important. And at the same time, we have to always keep in mind that nobody knows what it's like to be us. They might not have the same gifts. They might not look like us. They might not act like us. They might not have the same astrology or personality or whatever. So really, if you want to progress towards something that is meaningful to you, that might be very different goal than somebody else has. So if you ask somebody else their definition of success, that might be very different from your definition of success, because you have something that's very important to you that they're not any good at or they're not interested in at all. And so most of the time I look around and I'm like, okay, I'm inspired by this person, or I admire something from someone else. So I'm going to take a little piece of that and apply it to me. Most time I think we don't go around thinking we wish we would change places with someone else, because hopefully we love ourselves so much that that's not the thought. So it's not a feeling of pure envy and jealousy, because you actually don't know what that other person is going through besides what they're showing you. So in this world that we live, where so many people just want to show the best versions of themselves, you never really know what somebody else is going through. So I think when you say that quote, it makes me think of that, and it makes me think how we really want to be true to ourselves, do what we love, and then of course it's just about doing your best every day.
Profound thoughts, Ryan. Profound thoughts, man. And just going back to the beginning of what you responded with there, that is one of my favorite books as well, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it's about our individual journey, right? I love this one where everybody is going through a struggle that you know nothing about. So be kind. Try not to be judgmental. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, our competition is not other people. It's ourself. It's like Kevin Hart says, it's like, I'm not trying to beat anybody else. I'm just trying to beat me. I'm trying to beat me every day, right? To become a better and better version. And take little pieces, right? Because it's like, if anything in my life were different, I wouldn't be who I am today, right? And so, I don't know what other people are going through, but I can take little gems of inspiration from here and there,
Absolutely.
Yesterday I played a golf match, right, with this guy who's a really good player in the area. He won the club championship at Miami Beach Golf Club, and we have some very competitive matches. So you could say, you wouldn't be wrong to say that he's my competition. I mean, objectively, when you're playing a match against somebody, that's your competition, right? So it's not wrong to say that. The interesting thing about golf is you play your own golf ball. So it's not like basketball where there's one ball and both teams are competing for it, or soccer where both teams are competing for the same ball. Actually, nothing that I do affects what he does. And technically, nothing that he does affects my golf ball because we're each playing our own ball. So if you think about it, golf in that sense is almost like the perfect analogy, because while you do have competition on one hand, maybe if he hits a shot that's really good, I'll say, okay, I have to hit the next shot more aggressively, right? Because I have to be just, I have to get it in there just as tight as he, or if he hits one really, if he puts one in the water, I can play the next shot a little safer. So maybe sometimes my play gets affected by the competition, but ultimately he's going to shoot what he's going to shoot, and I'm going to shoot what I'm going to shoot. And we're just going to look at every hole and say, okay, how did we match up? So it's really interesting. I think it's okay to have competition, and I love having competition. But I know that really it's up to what I do is what's going to result in what's the result of that competition at the end of it.
And that's a very empowering way to look at it. And it's great because when it comes down to the fundamentals of golf, it is you. It's your mechanics, it's your practice, your skill level. But then the judgment can creep in of like, this guy hit a better shot or this guy. And then you can see how easily that can kind of sway and start to take you off your game or tune you in. So that's, like you said, Ryan, that's a great analogy. And then just coming back to the 4 agreements, isn't one of them to be impeccable with your speech, with your word?
It is.
That's the one that I really key in on, because it seems like nowadays that people use language in a way that takes their power away, or they're victimized, or they're outraged, versus like saying what you're going to do and going out and doing it. So the power of the spoken word nowadays, I mean, if you stick to your word, it's powerful. If you don't, I mean, you can destroy yourself.
Yeah, I mean, even yesterday I was talking to my contractor. He was fixing my kitchen, and he's like, "How's everything going?" I said, "Good, I'm trying to build this company." He said, "Don't try." And I looked at him and I was like, he's my friend. Now he's not like some, advanced scholar psychologist. He's not Jordan Peterson, but he's a great guy. He's super smart, good boxer. We've been friends. I hired him to do my kitchen, and even he knew that, that Yoda quote from Star Wars, or do or do not, there is no try, right? So he caught me and he called me out on it. I said the word try, and I thought I got to be more impeccable with my words. So there's always these really nice, gentle reminders from the universe when we can speak what we truly want. And sometimes we can't. So yeah,
it's cool that he caught that, because like your language will reveal certain thought processes. Like try gives you an out, like, whoa, I tried, versus like, no, I'm going to do it 100%. And it's that's the internal dialogue coming to the external, and then you're going, well, at least if I tried and failed, I lived up to my word, versus saying, no, I failed today and I'm going to do it, so I need to reload. So that's a good friend right there.
I agree. It almost couches like that if you could fail, like, oh, well, at least I tried, versus, you're almost setting yourself up to not succeed, versus if you say, no, I'm doing this, like, I'm going to do this. I might not be all happen in one day or in 1 week or in 1 month. Like you said, the words that we say really are powerful. And even sometimes, my grandfather was an English professor. So at the dinner table, my father would, tell me, give me some grammar and word corrections and stuff along the way. So I really do appreciate, people who speak what they intend and who are impeccable with their word, as the book says.
Absolutely, man. There is no try, only do. And when we're 100% committed, we cannot fail. If we are committed to go at it and go at it and go at it, it's not about how many times you get hit down, knocked down. It's that you just keep on getting back up. It was the Henry Ford quote, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both correct.
Henry Ford, his other quote, which is, they said if you ask people what they wanted next, they would have said, bigger horses or something. You know, they couldn't imagine the automobile, right? So he came up with this Model T, but if you at the time, he had to be way ahead of the curve. That's something that I like to do. I don't know if we want to go down that road, but I am always thinking of like, I know that there's a better solution, and I'm going to do something even if it seems very weird. Nobody else is doing it. Get made fun of it for doing. Um, you know, like I went to Italy in 2009, I want to say, and I bought a man purse, a leather man purse from Sorrento. And I got made fun of it. Ryan, look at you. You posted this picture on Facebook at the time. I don't know if I had Instagram yet at the time. It's like you posted this picture with this man purse. You know, what are you doing? You look stupid. It's gay, you know, all these things. I'm telling my friends, I'm like, hey, I'm reading this stuff about not keeping your phone in your pocket. It's supposed to be better for your testosterone and not, you know, interrupt your body. And I have all this other stuff. Like I want a chapstick, I want a wallet. At the time I was really into like working out and wearing like tighter fitting clothes. So I didn't like the idea of like squeezing stuff into my pockets. Got a lot of crap for that, you know, and then a couple years later, all the NBA players, one by one, you know, the fashion trendsetters of the NBA start showing up to the games, rocking a little man purse, you know, and then the next thing you know, every store, Zara, everything, you know, all the trend-setting stores have 100 to choose from, and everybody's wearing them. And if you don't have one now, it's like you missed out on the thing. You know, it takes a certain level of courage and knowing yourself. I feel like to do what's best for you and to like stand in that fire and be like, look, I'm telling you, this is great. You guys might not get it yet, you know.
I'm carrying a little bag. I don't care what you think. I'm carrying a little bag.
I'll just let you know, guys. I have a list of things that are still currently not accepted by the majority, and there's a list of things that I currently still get made fun of for. And I always think of that at first, people ask you, why are you doing this? And then eventually they ask you, how did you do it? So it's the same thing with like yoga, right? I was in business, I was in grad school, I was working venture capital, working finance. People are like, yo, you're spending a lot of time doing yoga. Like you're hanging out with this guy, Andrew Seeley, a lot. My friends are messing, man, you're hanging out with this guy a lot. You're going to yoga classes a lot in the middle of the day or whatever. People didn't get what I was doing, right? Because to them, they're like, well, they're probably thinking, well, I'm not doing this. And if he's doing something different than me, I need to comment on this because, you know, of course they're projecting. And then I'm like, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm just, you know, fixing my body and learning more about this whole yoga thing. A couple years later now, everyone's saying, oh, my body hurts. What do I do, Ryan? What do I do? And so it's like, well, remember years ago when you made fun of me for wearing those funny shoes? You know, it's like, yeah, you made fun of me for wearing the funny shoes a couple years ago, and now I'm about to recommend you that you take your shoes off, or you have to wear toe spreaders, or you have to wear these shoes, and you don't have a choice because now you're so desperate and in pain, you know, like I was at one point, but maybe I guess I found it a little bit earlier. But the point is that I stuck with it, something that I knew worked for me, regardless of, you know, all the teasing and that kind of thing that happens. So it's interesting you bring up Henry Ford, because I think being innovative it comes with so much backlash. Like I think about Kanye West, you know, when he put out the 808s and Heartbreak album, and people are like, what are you doing? This isn't rap, you know, you're singing with auto-tune. This is stupid. And every one of my friends, the first day the album came out, oh, this is trash. This is stupid. I don't get it. Oh, but then they start to see that like it's becoming popular with everyone else. And now it's like, oh, he's a genius again. You know, 2 weeks later, he's a genius. So I'm pretty sure if you ask Kanye, he would have said he was a genius while making the album. I'm pretty sure when it came out, he would have told everyone, this is a really great album. So it just takes the rest of the world to catch up a little bit. It takes some time sometimes.
So Ryan, you mentioned something that was really good is courage. So courage is interesting because it's a quality, but it's also a habit. And somewhere along your development, you have made being courageous and going against the grain part of like your default mode of being in the world. So was there a specific moment, maybe early in your development, maybe you're a teenager or a kid, where something happened that gave you the evidence that being courageous always pays off?
That's a great question. I think courage is the number one value that most people would benefit from having more of in their life, especially today. Something happened with courage that's very interesting, which is that if you think about like the movie Braveheart, we used to celebrate the Mel Gibson character in Braveheart, and that is the hero of that movie. Now, that movie came out, I think, a little bit after I was born, like in the 90s or something. Um, what's interesting nowadays is people have confused conforming as a virtue, whereas it used to be that courage was a virtue. So it used to be that if you were the Mel Gibson character that said, we're not taking this anymore, don't listen to them, disobey, we know what's right, honor the guidelines of our country, the Constitution, whatever it is, our family, these long-standing traditions. That used to be the virtuous one, the courageous one, right? Or Achilles in leading the Battle of Troy or whatever. He's the courageous one. Now, because of evolutionary psychology, if you think about playing the game like the Oregon Trail, like, I don't know, you used to play that game on the computer, it'd be like, oh, you're going on the Oregon Trail with your tribe of 10 people, and then Indians came and robbed you, or you got a disease or something, or someone broke off from the tribe, and that's not good. So evolutionarily, we're programmed to want to conform to our tribe, because if you want to share food, resources, if you want to fall in love and start a family and have the support of your tribe, it's probably best that you agree and conform to the values of that tribe. Like, maybe don't steal someone else's food, or whatever it is. So in general, we're made with this wanting to conform. You guys following me?
Absolutely, yeah. Evolutionarily beneficial to conform with your tribe for safety, for security, for cohesion.
It's very scary for someone to disagree with the mainstream narrative. And now here's the trick of nowadays, and this is to answer your question, how did I become courageous? It's through seeing the tricks. So once you see the whole picture, and you can see certain places where there's some sort of illusion that's trying to be played on you, well, then you say, well, I don't want to get taken advantage of. I want what's actually best for me. So I'm going to be courageous. And, I have friends that are Black, and during BLM, I said, this is a scam, you guys. And at the time, it was a much more controversial opinion than it is now. And even, I would watch ESPN, and I would see, Black hosts like Marcel Wiley get on there and say, hey, BLM is a scam. But then he quickly gets taken off the air. They don't let him speak anymore, or they change him to a different show or something. So I realized that there's clearly sometimes in life where there's these uncomfortable conversations for some people, because, well, wait a minute, my whole tribe, my whole community is saying something, and Ryan, you're saying something different. So the courageous part happens when you recognize that, what does it mean to be a good person? We've confused so often these days. Being a good person means conforming to the mainstream narrative that you hear on CNN or something like that. People think, well, I'm a good person, I care about people, right? I want to support this because that's what this person is saying. If you're a good person, you have to support this or that, or you have to do this or that. I call BS to that. I say being a good person means you really get to the truth. So if you're not willing to go to the truth, how do you know if what you're supporting is truly good? You might get patted on the back. Yeah, you might get pats on the back from some people. And then over time, you're going to realize what you're supporting is not working, right? Maybe looting the neighborhood, burning down buildings in your own neighborhood or this kind of thing, maybe that doesn't have the long-term effect on the community, because maybe what that does is it lowers the price, it drives businesses out that won't come back, which lowers the economic and taxable base of the neighborhood. It allows high net worth institutions and individuals to come in, purchase those, destroyed properties, and then rent them back to the neighborhood at 5x the price that they were before, and basically drives out a lot of economic activity. And so if it takes a more mature perspective to look from the big picture at that, rather than being reactive and being like, yeah, let's listen to the TV and go and loot.
It's just so interesting how it's been encouraged in our social narrative that going along with the herd is perceived as courageous, when in fact it's not. It's more courageous to go against the grain and say, hey, being a good person is actually, let me go at this, let me do some research, let me find out what the truth is, and let me stand for something. Like you said with Braveheart, like he's standing for something, like our founding fathers against tyranny. But hey, this is a beautiful conversation that we're erupting here, and I want to try to bring this back on some tracks here with the question to you, Brian. So what would you say was an early source of inspiration that played a big influence in your life?
That's a great question. I did feel like growing up, I was really into the movie The Matrix. I don't know how much that got me to question, reality and this kind of thing. I always did. I was fascinated with that storyline. Especially the part where the guy just wanted to eat the steak and he wanted to stay in the Matrix because the steak tasted great. He didn't want to eat the same oatmeal every day. I think that definitely connects to what we were saying before, right? About how some people, it's just, if this is the thing to support, I haven't seen any Hawaiian flags on my Instagram, but last I checked, Hawaii was part of our own country. I don't see the support for that, like there was the support for Ukraine or something like that, right? So I think at a certain point, people are just like, oh, I'm just post the Ukraine flag and get on with my day, right? It's like, I just want the steak. Just tell me what I need to do to signal to people that I'm a good person. I'm just going to do that and go on with my day. And now in the Matrix, they say that actually people fight to protect the system. They're so dependent on the system, they'll actually fight to protect it. So if you come along and you do your own research, you're going to run into people that are actually fighting to protect the same system. And then you'll hear him say things like, oh, well, the system isn't working, or the system is broke. Actually, the system is working exactly how it's designed. It's not broken. So all we need to do is learn that system. So I think watching the movie The Matrix was a big kind of subconscious thing for me, right?
Inspired your curiosity.
Also, after I graduated from college, I was 22, I moved from New Jersey to LA. And so of course it's, your typical, I'm sure many people have experienced that, leaving their friends and their hometown, that kind of thing. I'd say that was one of the best decisions of my life. Because then now I was in Los Angeles, a big city with people that had dreams and everything even bigger than mine. Whereas where I was before, it seemed like there was really nowhere for me to go. Definitely traveling, relationships, having pain in my body. I used to be really into working out at Equinox and deadlifting and everything. And I was like deadlifting twice my body weight, like 300 pounds or something like that. But I wasn't training my core enough. I thought I had a strong core because I would do some, ab exercises and I was pretty athletic. But over time, I developed a huge imbalance where actually my back was working way too hard and I developed a severe back pain. So I really thought to myself, like, okay, I need to really figure this out. Like, this is not getting better, it's getting worse. So it wasn't like something happened all at once. So I said, okay, well, maybe there's a solution. If I acquired this back pain over many years and months, maybe there's something I can do, to alleviate it. So I was at the Muscle Beach in Santa Monica, doing working out calisthenics at the beach, with pain in my body because I didn't know what else to do. I mean, there was no choice. And I saw someone doing handstands and acro yoga. I didn't really know what acro yoga was at the time, but I certainly could appreciate someone doing a handstand, which is something I always wanted to learn to do. And I told myself, I was like, you're going to learn that. And I ended up talking to him. His name's Andrew Seeley, my good friend. He teaches yoga around the world. We went on a retreat together that he hosted. Again, I started getting super into yoga after that because I just knew that I had this feeling. I don't know exactly how I knew. Maybe I talked to God or something, but I knew that yoga would fix me. It just seemed like, of course, this is going to work. And there was even a time 6 or 7 months into my yoga journey where I decided I wanted to get my teacher training to learn about anatomy to still fix my body. And even when I was about to graduate from my teacher training, they said, oh, go out there and teach people. So I said, okay, great. So I show up to this older guy's house and I'm in pain while I'm teaching him yoga. And I said to myself, like, A, this sucks, it hurts. This doesn't feel good. And there were two thoughts that I could have thought in that moment. I could have thought, this is never going to work. What the heck are you doing, Ryan? You're teaching somebody else yoga while you're in pain. What a fraud. I could have thought, what a fraud you are. Or I could have thought, which is eventually how I did think, I thought, this has to work. This has worked for thousands of years. I just need to keep doing this. And if I got taught certain things because they work, then if I repeat those things, they'll work. Even if I don't have the complete solution for myself yet, I was still waiting to see the results for my own body.
So you had faith in the wisdom of the teachings, right? Because yoga is an ancient philosophy, right? It comes from Patanjali, the sutras, the ancient texts, the Bhagavad Gita. Like, it's ancient, man. It's ancient. Thousands of years of wisdom.
Exactly.
You gotta trust that.
In that moment, that was a big moment for me too, because that was when it was like, are you a fraud? Are you completely, teaching this person something when you're in pain? If he knew that how much pain I was in, would he be listening to me right now?
I mean, I think he's looking at this young guy who's coming over from LA, who's teaching him how to twist into a pretzel and find his younger self. And, it's more about the symbol of your youth and your energy, I think, than like, do you have any pain in your body? Yes or no? Are you a fraud? It's interesting. I can relate a little bit. I actually did a training when I was 19, and I didn't really get into teaching yoga. I've taught some yoga, but I did a 200-hour teacher training, but I felt too young. I felt like, how can I be teaching people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s how to move their body when I'm still discovering who the heck I am? But it's something I often come back to is like, how can I step into a higher version of myself that's ready to share my yoga practice and my stretching and the way I move my body and to teach people. I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to teach others and to hold space for others. And I have a lot of questions for you about that because I've seen you teaching acro yoga and you've got a lot of skill. You've got a little skill in your toolkit, man. But hey, we got another question on our little blueprint here. I think Damien might want to chime in and jump on with that, which get a little bit more into the vision of who is Ryan Jacobs and what's he got going on.
So I want to just touch upon the idea of pain, right? Us as men, we usually want to build ourselves. We want to get jacked, have abs, get all the girls, be strong. But I think there's a certain point in the evolution of somebody that's trying to be fit, both mentally, emotionally, and physically, where you realize that it's okay to look good, but you want to feel good. And part of that is functionality, and learning how to work with pain is essential to crafting a good physique or crafting a good business or relationships, because it's never smooth sailing. And the second the storm shows up, you find out who you really are. Now, you have quite a lot going on in your life, Ryan. RaiseX, your golf fitness app, your music, and your fitness. How are you able to juggle so much and keep all those areas well-defined and growing?
This is a great question. I used to work with a guy named Michael Yanover, who is the head of the venture division at CAA agency, Creative Arts Agency in LA. When I started working with him, I thought, this is a big time business guy. After working with him for a couple of weeks, he said, hey, do you want to come to the Mr. C Hotel on Friday night? I'm playing in a jazz band. I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, not only does this guy do it, but he's not afraid to invite one of his coworkers to see this very personal thing that has nothing to do with work. And I thought, well, why do I sometimes like shy away in business from telling people about these other things that I'm doing, as if that like takes away from what my primary business role is. I wish that more people would be open during business calls or, talking with people about their projects to really show these other aspects. I think it's because we have this idea that like if you do too many things that you can't be good at any of them, or like you have to pick one thing. Or also we want to identify people, right? We want to put them in a box. So it's like, okay, your host today is Ryan and we're going to tell you about him so that we can condense what he is into something that you can digest. I think we do that again from an evolutionary standpoint, because it's like if there's a lion coming and you're a caveman, you're like, that's a lion, right? You don't have time to, really think about it could be a nice lion also. It's like, no. If you're a lion, you're this. So some people, like if you're a businessman, then you're probably not fit. You probably way too concerned about money all the time, or you don't sleep well or something. I don't know, whatever the old adages are for some kind of cutthroat business guy. I pretty much love to think that everything I do fuels me. So like if I go to the beach and do a workout, that's going to give me energy for maybe I have some computer work to do. Well, maybe I can do that computer work at night. I started this business, RaiseX, about a year ago. We help companies raise money. The website's RaiseXcapital.com. And I have meetings during the day, typically, and then I have a lot of work to do. But maybe if it's a nice afternoon and the sunset's about to hit, I just know, and I'm sure you guys get where I'm going with this, it's much better for my fulfillment and my happiness to say, instead of working through the sunset and then having nothing to do at night, let me go enjoy the sunset right now. Then I can come back to my computer and from 9 to 10:30 at night or something, I can finish that work. To me, it's a no-brainer, right? Because the colors in the sky, the sunlight, the being outside, I mean, there's no substitute for it. So I almost do all these creative outlets and these things I love to do because I couldn't imagine not doing it. Like if I didn't play competitive golf, I don't have another competitive outlet in me, really. I don't do kickboxing. Maybe I would have to sign up for kickboxing. Like I have a friend in LA who just did a boxing fight, but something competitive. Like I don't have that. We need that, because one of the problems that I see with the whole spiritual community and these yoga festivals, it's all, oh, everybody's the best. You're the best. Everyone's great. Love yourself. Oh, don't worry about, life's not competitive. We're just here to, do hippie stuff. And that's not the way the world works. I wish, if I could change one thing about some of these yoga festivals, it would be, I want to see a handstand contest. I'm not saying I would win, but even as a participant.
But you might. You might.
Last, I wouldn't come in first, but it would be fun. And even if I was just a spectator, right? Once I come out of my handstand, now I'm a spectator like everyone else. I want to see, like, maybe there's some talented people who have been training their whole lives that are going to be up there for 2 minutes or something. Like, let's honor them by giving them some platform to like do it in a competitive way, not just how many likes you can get on Instagram or something. Or another one of my ideas is like having a tug of war contest at some of these yoga festivals, where you have like people from all over the world on one team and people from the Americas, North and South America on one side, and you have a tug of war or something. Like, bring some
Battle of the Continents
competition or something. I think would be good. So personally, I do all these things. To get back to the answer the question, it was like, I do all these different things. I couldn't imagine not doing it. I think I would drive myself crazy if I was just out there playing golf for fun with no purpose. I play so much better when I'm in competition.
I And I love the way you frame that, because you talk about one of your posts is multi-dimensional versus conventional. And so what you're talking about is the path of individuation. So there are different parts of the psyche, and that you've been able to put energy into the yoga, into the connectivity, but also to masculinize your consciousness to go and compete in the world. Because as Carl Jung says, I'm a big fan of him, you know, the depth psychologist who derived from Freud, that life is found in the play of opposites. And yeah, like the truth of it is, it's like we are all connected, but there are parts of us that are highly competitive. And one of the earlier things we were talking about is the group mentality versus the individual. So yes, there's safety in the group and there's utility in the group, but you get swayed with the group. Your voice is a whisper in the group. When you step outside the group, yes, you subject yourself to criticism and potential death, but it's death of you in the group, because there's a lot of complex topics happening in the world, a lot of polarizing topics. And in a world of 30-second attention spans, it's not as simple as this is good or bad. It requires that you go into the dimensions of yourself, and that you're really present, and that you use curiosity to go, well, this is what I think, this is what they think. And somewhere in between those two opinions, there is a truth. And nobody owns the truth. It's almost like kind of going into areas of like, okay, we're getting closer or we're getting away. But the fact that you can combine like, hey man, peace, love, yoga, connectivity, with also like, hey man, this is a competition. Let's find the middle ground. I think that's awesome, and that really speaks to your development as a man.
That quote, that's one of my favorite. It's actually, I mean, you could say it's a quote because I wrote it and now people are repeating it. At the time, it was just something that I wrote. So I would love for it to become, you know, something maybe that I leave behind in this life. But I said, I'm here now, being me. Beyond the gate of judgment is a life truly free. If I had only one side, I would be flat. I can be yoga dude or businessman or both, and so much more than that. What you see in me is a reflection of you. My purpose is to be truly me so that you feel good being truly you. I'd rather be multidimensional than conventional. So that is really something that I actually pinned it to my profile because I want people to read that, because it does give them a good perspective of me and my multidimensionality. And, you know, it just got me thinking, like, I have a toolbox. I have tools. I like fixing stuff around the house. I think every man should have some degree of, do you know how to drill an anchor into the wall and then put a screw in if you have drywall and you don't have a stud? Do you know how to find a stud? Do you know how to, if you're, you know, it used to be before laptops, if you wanted a powerful computer, you actually had to open up the computer and, you know, replace things. So I did that. You know, I used to fix my computer. I used to, you know, nowadays it's a little bit trickier to fix your car, but do you know, as a man, do you have a thing to inflate your tires that plugs into your cigarette lighter just in case you don't want to pay a gas station and you need to put air in your tires? Like, there's basic things that I think make you a well-rounded, functional human. You know, can you do 15 push-ups? Can you do 5 pull-ups? Like, if you were in a situation and the ground is lava and you need to climb up something or get away from someone, like, do you have a baseline competency to pull out a pocket knife if you need to, or, you know, run away or protect your woman? Like, I'm not saying that I'm the best at any of these things. I'm certainly not Jesus, who was a contractor, right? But we can take some of these aspects and say, you know what, I need to have a certain baseline ability. I need a certain competency in certain areas of my life. And I think one thing I've noticed in the world that is not good is a lot of women seem to say that they don't know how to cook like their grandmother or their mom cooked. And a lot of men don't know how to fix things like their grandfather and their father. We live in this world where that's like, you know, you don't need it because
somehow we've gotten to some place where that's okay, man.
I call BS on that. I say you're not. I'd say if there's some man out there and he's like, look, I just kind of want to own my confidence a little more. Like, honestly, being able to, you know, shop for groceries even outside the supermarket. Like, I have somebody that I call and I get, you know, that's actual farm. You know, if something happened and the power went out in the Whole Foods or something, are you able to get groceries? Do you have a place? Do you know where you would go to get fruits or eggs or something? And then once you get, do you know how to cook? You know, are you some guy that's relying on Uber Eats? Or that's not going to last you your whole life. You know, do you know how to clean? Do you know how to fix shit? You know how to fix your house? You know how to fix your car? You know how to fix your body? You know, so we need to do all these things, and we need to figure this stuff out, because okay, maybe your car comes with a manual, but we know our body doesn't come with a manual. So, you know, the most passionate conversations on every podcast is people trying to figure out what is the manual for the human body, right? Constant debate. Like, feed it, you know, when your car comes, it says, okay, only put 93 octane fuel in it. Okay, check. But when when you have a kid, it doesn't say feed it, you know, a keto carnivore diet with some rice and this, you know what I mean? It doesn't come
Red number 40, and then some ADD medication.
figuring out like what is the protocol, you know. But of course, there's some things where there is a protocol, such as, you know, heart construction or contracting or fixing your car or something. So at least if you can get those things down, then you know how to fix yourself. That, I think, makes it true. Like, I don't know if I would say Renaissance man, because that phrase, I think there's got to be a certain level of innovation there. Like, you know, Da Vinci, they say, was a Renaissance man, but of course Da Vinci did so many things, right? He was an inventor, he was a writer, he was a painter, he was a sculptor, all these things. So I think we got to bring that back a little bit. So that's where that quote, you know, about being multidimensional comes from. And I use all these things to fuel each other, and I look at it as a constellation of things that are connected. Now, if you didn't know me and you just saw all these things, they just might look like random stars in the sky that aren't connected. But I can definitely say that all these things that I do are absolutely connected. And that's why I'm starting now with the golf fitness, you know, which is because I played competitive golf for 25 years. I've been doing yoga for 7 years now, and now I'm a certified, you know, instructor. So now I can put it together. So little things like that, where you can, you know, put things together and connect the dots. You know, Kanye, I love Kanye, so I'm going to mention him again. He says, like, some people say, well, Kanye, you're very distracted when you talk. You'll start talking about one thing, then you'll start talking. He says, well, to me, it's a symphony of thoughts. You know,
Oh, I love that symphony of thoughts, man. That's a beautiful way to put it.
That phrase. And I like to think that my life is a symphony of activities. It's not just, oh, let's hear Ryan's, you know, music, and it's just me playing one instrument. That could be nice. I'm not saying, I mean, you could become a billionaire at just playing the piano or something like that, right? And you could have more success than me, and maybe you're giving me advice and you're saying, Ryan, just pick one thing. But we know that there are some people out there that their life is more of a symphony of all these things that they're doing, playing together. That's more about what my life sounds like, right? If you were to hear the song of my life, it would have many notes, many aspects, or maybe the beat would change halfway through. You know how that's the new thing? They change the beat completely halfway through the song. Like, that's not every song, but there are some good songs like that. Now, there are some bad songs like that. So if you tried to make a song like that, I'm not saying it would be a hit. It could be a hit or it could be a flop, right? It's all how you do it. But there's definitely different ways to make the song of your life.
Oh, so let me ask you, Ryan, I love that, the symphony of your life. Now, if a symphony is not perfectly balanced, if it's not on the same page, you can have contrasting sounds that it could sound like noise. So diving into some of the things you said, getting beyond judgment, but being competitive, to have inner harmony is to have that symphony line up. So being competitive is, for lack of a better term, it's a judgment. Who's better than who? So how do you create that inner harmony between getting beyond judgment, getting beyond the group, and being competitive, but also being connected?
Well, great question. To use like the golf example, you know, I can still, you know, if my competitor makes a good swing, or I can say, hey, that's a great shot. Because ultimately, what is my real goal? And this is a great, you know, takeaway for me with competing is ultimately you don't want to win and have everyone else think, yeah, Ryan won, but it wasn't fun playing with him, right? Because then you're not going to get invited back or this kind of thing. So actually, I used to be so focused on winning that I forgot about the whole, like, make other people feel good aspect of it. And one day I went and played basketball in LA, and it was with a new group of guys. And I thought, you know what, it would be nice to keep playing with this group of guys like often. So I said, okay, your goal today is actually not going to be to win. Your goal is going to be that at the end of it, they're going to think, I'm glad Ryan was part of this game. Like, it was fun having him be a part of the game. So if I would play and I would get fouled, I would like smile about it. And everyone would say, oh, you know, Ryan's got a good attitude. He just got fouled, but he's got a good attitude. And then, you know what? It freed me up, and I played so well. Like, I was hitting every shot. Before I would have thought, okay, my goal is to play well. My goal, make sure your fingers are aligned with the rim. You know, I'm thinking all these technical things, like how to play well. I actually played the best when my goal was make sure that it's a good experience for everyone and they enjoy, like, make it a better game because you're there. Like, how.
And that's that mature perspective you mentioned earlier.
So I think that's the best way I can answer your question, is like how to combine the competitiveness with the community, you know, because at the end of the day, nobody gives a crap if you win or not, really. It's just your own, you know, ego or whatever it is. So that's the best example I can give, and a really clear example of where I really saw, like, instantly. Sometimes in life, you're like, I'm going to try this thing. When you get an instant result like that, like I played so well, everyone was so happy afterwards, and I won. So imagine now I'm driving home from the basketball game, like I've never felt so much positivity and so much fulfillment. You know, I don't know if you could call it happiness, right? Because again, it was more than just me winning or me playing well, which again, that was the only goal before, play well and win. And then when I changed that goal, those things happened anyway, even better. And I had this other positive result at the end. So
I think sometimes happiness is underrated in its value for being able to charge us up. Earlier you said before, you were talking about the symphony of your life and the symphony of thoughts and the symphony of all these aspects in your life. You mentioned how certain aspects of your life fuel you, whether it's music or with the yoga or the, you know, playing pickup sports and stuff. But it's a beautiful thing to think about how, like, you're talking about this basketball game where you're choosing to bring kind of a positive vibe so that, you know, everybody has a good time. And then not only did you achieve that goal, but because you were having that attitude and you felt more positive and happy and you're kind of just in the flow of it all, letting go of the idea of wanting to win, you ended up winning anyway. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that, in that, you know, I've been seeing a lot of kickback. Like, there's a lot of people be like positive vibes only, and then now there's some people who are saying, well, let's be real, you know, it's not all just positive vibes only. True. And at the same time, it's about having a good attitude about things, because things happen. You know, you might get a nail in your tire. You might wake up with a headache. You might have somebody not show up on time. All kinds of things can happen, and if we can take it with a positive attitude and not be complaining, it's really empowering, and it can really fuel us. You also mentioned Da Vinci, and this is the first time on the show. I'm going to plug some merch, because I love graphic design, and, you know, we're building this brand. We've got a good mission to inspire people to evolve in their personal and professional lives. I just got the first shirt here, and I designed it with the Vitruvian Man. The Vitruvian Man, here for Evolution Now Project. And you guys out there, thanks for watching along and, you know, being a part of this. And Ryan, thanks for being on this show. Damien, thanks for all the support along the way. You know, we're still very much at the beginning of this thing, but every conversation we have seems to be more dynamic, more energetic, more intriguing. And just really happy to be able to be, you know, hosting the show and creating this platform for personal and professional evolution and the discussions of what does it take to become a better person all the time. So, Damien, grab the mic.
Yeah, absolutely. And well said. It's great to be here doing this with you, JJ. We've been working on this since April, and Ryan, again, great conversation. So I want to ask you, what is the next step of your personal or professional evolution look like? What do you need to do to take it to the next level?
Great question. So my company, RaiseX, like I mentioned, we help companies raise money, which now there's a brand new way to legally have people invest directly and buy shares of common stock in your company on the internet, such as masterworks.com has done, where you can buy pieces of art as an investment. Now, a lot of NFTs and crypto stuff, they're now cracking down on all that now. It's not making the news, it's not making the Instagram headlines like it was when these things were being offered as this is a great investment, invest in our company, buy our NFT. It sounded good last year or 2 years ago. Well, now the SEC, which is the regulatory agency that cracks down on you for investment fraud or insider trading, that kind of thing, they're actually the only government agency with their own police force, which is very interesting. Just to give you some, frame of reference on the SEC. So my company works directly with the SEC to do these fundraisers properly, to avoid the pitfalls of, working with some other company or doing it the wrong way, where now you're having these people, they think they're investing in your company, but it's all a fraud, or the SEC is going to say you're actually offering securities that aren't regulated. So it's illegal to sell unregulated securities, which is what they're claiming now a lot of the NFT and crypto stuff was. So the next level for me with the business is to really educate brands out there and say, hey, if you're a brand or you're a company that's has some, is known in the market, has some brand recognition, or you have a big audience, we can actually build you a legal marketplace online for people to invest in your company directly online. So like we give them a button that says invest now. So imagine you go to, there's a new company, like a new, let's just say, a new golf equipment company, and they have this new golf technology. Well, back in the day it would be like, well, do we get a loan from the bank to grow the business? Do we talk to these venture capital guys like Shark Tank? The reason they call them Shark Tank is because they're sharks. They're gonna really cut and be pretty greedy about the ownership that they take in your company. They're gonna try to cut you're down. So people say, man, there's got to be a new way to raise money for your company that's better. So when the Jobs Act was passed in 2016, it basically democratized capitalism. It's trying to give everyday people the opportunity to be investors, where you used to have to be an accredited investor, someone who's worth $1 million or more in order to make investments. So now they put in these regulations where anybody can invest $500 or $1,000 and invest in a private company. So this is different than buying stocks, which is investing in a public company. So my company, RaiseX, we give companies or brands the ability to have people invest directly at a private company. So like a bunch of little angel investors, if you will. So this is where the market is moving. And this is really my goal, for the immediate future, is to, work with the best clients that I can, and to do these offerings and to really change capitalism. And what's cool is, maybe other people who are listening to this, or maybe you guys have felt this at certain points in your career, I'm starting to round the curve in my career, where in the beginning I didn't get to pick the companies that I worked with, because I was working for a venture capital fund and I had a higher up, and they were making the decisions, and then I was like the operational guy, and I would get tasked with this project, but I didn't necessarily get to pick the company that I work with, right? I still learn a lot and add a lot of value. Well, now it's my own company. I can say no to customers. I can say yes, and I can sort of get to choose to do business with my friends. So now I have friends that have companies, and they're, advancing in their career. So I can say, hey, I see you've been building this company. Why don't, I think you would be, this would be a great fit to raise capital through RaiseX. And now I get to actually work with my friends and support, my friends' companies with my company, which is so cool. So I'd say that is really like the big arc, that to answer your question, like what is the future? I think it's really, it's about me, maybe being a keynote speaker at some conference in Miami and saying, my name's Ryan, this is what my company does, and stepping more into I'd say, a leader in the tech, in the business community, as, hey, you really should talk to this guy Ryan to raise money for your business. So I'm planning to step more into the spotlight, and maybe even make some content around that, because as you can see from my Instagram, I never really knew how to make content about my company, because it would basically just be like, if I hired you, JJ, to take content of me working, it would just be me sitting with my coffee and my MacBook. Maybe there could be a shot of like a cool second monitor or something like that, but it doesn't.
Yeah, well, that's where, I mean, just to throw a little tangent in here, but that's where you would talk to somebody like me, who's the story dissector, who would then ask you questions about, well, what does it mean? Like, for instance, here was where my mind would go with it is, what happens when people work with RaiseX? So then we would get shots of entrepreneurs working in teams, or where we get, lifestyle shots, somebody getting on a jet, obviously, or, cafe meetings, or on the beach, or whatever it is, and all of these things, hotels, and like skyline shots of Miami, or establishing shots of amazing hotels and conference centers and that stuff, and then tying that together with your business.
I didn't have that vision, thought, well, a picture of me on my computer isn't as cool as me doing a handstand. So it's like, people see me post a handstand, and of course that's all they know about me, because that's all I show them. I can't blame them, right? But they don't know that I spent 5 hours on my computer and 20 minutes working out. They're only seeing what you post. So I think for my future, if I start to share more about my business, then it'll be good, because not only will it help my business, but it will allow people to know what I truly spend my time doing, and that kind of thing. So
I want to say, you could marry the two. A handstand, it takes hours, weeks, months of practice. It takes balance. It takes mindfulness. It takes presence of mind. Same thing is true of raising capital for a company. So you post a handstand, and then you just make the abstraction between the physical, the development of self, and the business, which could be engaging.
Yeah, it's an idea.
What kinds of businesses have you been working with, and what kinds of businesses do you like to see take off with support from RaiseX?
On the website, raisexcapital.com, you can see some of the companies we work with: fintech, security, different kind of technology, real estate. So again, private companies looking to raise between $5 and $75 million typically.
Amazing. Hey, Ryan, when you hear the name Evolution Now, what comes to mind?
I feel like it is our, super fulfilling to evolve your perspective over time. That's how I see it play. I think there has been maybe a push from the school system to think of the word evolution as like we evolved our bodies from these, single-celled organisms, which, if you think about the theory of evolution, it's still a theory. It's not a law, because it has not been proven. Darwin had sex with one person his whole life. And in fact, the book that he wrote, which is, it's, let's say, so I look it up, Darwin book, the actual name.
Was it like On Species or something?
Yeah. Origin of Species.
Yeah, I think
the actual name is On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. So when you hear the term favored races, it definitely seems very racist, and it teaches also that Black people are closer to monkeys, and it puts all this, I would say, not true and not beneficial concepts, as far as people feeling like they're broken, like, oh, you're just evolved from this, simple thing. So of course you're broken and you need pharmaceuticals to fix you, versus the other mindset would be, say, hey, actually, we're all created as perfectly in the image of God. We all have the ability to heal ourselves. You were not just the product of some random mutation. That's not what evolution is. So I think evolution is much, much different than the first term, where so many of us are sort of, educated by the school system is we hear the word evolution is part of the theory of evolution, is how we came to be. There's so many, I have really gone down this rabbit hole of truth seeking of how we came to be. And I am very confident to say that it was either aliens or God or someone that created us pretty much the way we are now. There really is, if you look at Graham Hancock and everything like that, or people who have really studied history, there's this huge gap, you know, where Greg Braden is another.
Sure. Between like Lucy, the monkey, the ape, and the Neanderthals, right? So you believe that you know, in some sort of creation theory. I just want to reflect back to you, because as we're coming up to the end of this episode, I know you're a great thinker, and it's been really a pleasure to have you on the show, because you've got a brilliant mind, like you said, a symphony. And so I would just boil down what you had said, which is basically that when you hear evolution, you think about biological evolution. You think about like the theory of human evolution, and like the first association you have with evolution would be the biological evolution. We hope that our audience and some of the people that are following our brand now can tune into the idea that it's also not just about the biological, but it's about the evolution of ideas, because things do evolve, right? Like the city of Miami has changed over time with the bridges, and the country itself has gone from 13 colonies to, hopefully everybody knows that we have 50 states, and that Hawaii is a state, and that we should be repping the Hawaiian flag. I might put it on my Facebook today. I dare you, Ryan. Why don't you put up the Hawaiian flag today? But I love it, man. I love it, and there's so much more to talk about. I mean, it's an infinite pool. It's a deep abyss that can be discussed, and maybe we'll have you on again sometime soon. As you, like I said, you got a brilliant mind.
Yeah, I love what you guys are doing, and just keeping the conversations flowing. Like I said, I definitely agree. Evolution is about evolution of our perspectives. And I think it's great. So enjoyed talking to you. Great questions. It got me to think about, I wasn't prepped with these questions. I really didn't look at my phone at all, even though I had, some notes of some things I wanted to talk about, but I think we hit them great. And I appreciate, Damien and JJ, I appreciate you guys, and keep going. I'm excited to see, some clips from this, and I'm happy to share, and I'll see you in person, JJ. We can do some more acro yoga, and you're good at whatever you practice. That's what I would just leave this with, is people really wonder, oh, how is this person so good at this? Probably because they practiced a lot. It's probably not as big of a secret as you think. So if I would leave someone with that, whether it's golf or acro yoga or making cold calls for sales or growing your business, honestly, it really comes down to putting in the practice, and the results speak for themselves. And the best result is when you make something look effortless. So you guys can get on here and interview me, and it feels very effortless. I'm sure you guys put some practice into this to make it seem effortless, or I might do a freestyle rap, or I might hit a golf ball, or do some acro yoga move, and it looks very effortless. It's not easy. The goal is to make things look easy by putting in a lot of practice. So I think that's the coolest thing in the world, when you see someone do something effortlessly. Always keep in mind that how much blood, sweat, and tears, it took before they were able to do it so effortlessly, without warming up in their street shoes or whatever, so.
I love that. Thank you so much, brother. Because there is no such thing as an overnight success. I think it was Kanye who said, it took me 10 years to become an overnight success.
Exactly. Or Picasso, say like, he draws something in 5 minutes and he charges $5 million. Someone's like, well, it took you 5 minutes. He said, no, it took me 40 years to do that in 5 minutes. Or I used to think about the people, playing basketball in the Converse, at that point, you see these kids doing backflips and Crocs or whatever. It's like, it looks like they're not even trying because they're not even wearing the appropriate shoes or whatever. But that just shows you how much practice they put in, that they can do all these things. They're not even in the proper clothes or whatever to do it. So if you can do something effortlessly where you just, that's really, I think, when someone can really do something. So that's the level I think I would encourage everyone to do. Find that thing you love and practice it so much that someone's like, dang, like that looks so easy. And you're like, you have no idea how.
Make it look easy. Make it look easy, man. I love it.
And I'd say it's practice with the right interpretation, that things are coming together and that everything you encounter is working for you. And that the bigger the challenge is, the more of yourself you'll unlock, as long as you're able to endure said challenge. So Ryan, again, as JJ said, you're a great thinker and you have some great ideas and you beautifully articulated those thoughts. And what a great conversation. And it was absolutely an honor and a pleasure to have you on Evolution Now, number 18. Until
Alrighty. So yeah, just gonna throw it out there. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for following along on Instagram and on YouTube. Definitely check out Ryan Jacobs. Check out some of his music. Check out his company RaiseX, and he's up to a lot of great stuff. Thank you, Ryan, for being here today. And Damien, you want to say the last closing?
We always say it, man. We end these podcasts. Say, keep growing.
Keep growing, guys. Keep growing.
Beautiful. Enjoyed it and looking forward to seeing some clips from this, and I'll talk to you guys soon. See you guys.